This is Unit 6, Lesson 5, the learning target. I can multiply and divide, scientific notation, by using the laws of exponents. And there's a combo worksheet for the homework, but that you probably won't see. And so we are going to just go through this quickly because this is mostly an 8th grade lesson, and since there is no 8th grade test, we could just go right through as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do is right now we're going to just hopefully we're going to take these planets right here, Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Pluto. You're going to write for A, you're going to write each distance in scientific notation and then try to answer B. And Neptune is about how many miles as far from the sun as Mars is from the sun. All right, pause the video right now. Okay, that we're back. Hopefully that was enough time. You paused it and now you're back. Mercury is 3.63 times 10 to the 7th. And again, just to review, you're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's why it's 3.63 to the 7th. All of these are positive exponent numbers. They're large numbers, so that's basically it. So you're looking at all the answers. Mars 1.42 times 10 to the 8th, 2.8 times 10 to the 7th, and 3.67 times 10 to the 9th. Now the most difficult one is right here, which is B. It says Neptune is about Neptune is about how many times as far from the sun as Mars is from the sun. Right? So as soon as it says how many times, that is division. And we went over that in class before we left. How many times is division? So we're talking about Neptune is mentioned first. So basically I put down 2.8 times 10 to the 9th because that is what Neptune is. So I just have to change this to 9 here, right? Because that's what it was, right? So just make sure you have to the 9th there. So you have 2.8 times 10 to the 9th, that's Neptune, divided by Mars, 1.42 times 10 to the 8th. Right, so you're just going to divide those, and I just wanted to show you just right now. Let's go up a little bit, and here is the TI 84. So just to remind you that that you just have to press alpha X to get the fraction shortcut up and running. All right, so now it's like if you're going to put this in, it's 2.8 times 10 and then to the exponent of 9. And then just go down and put 1.42 times 10 to the 8th. And that's it. And you press enter. You get 1.9718 blah 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 times the exponent of 1. So if this is something that that you're putting down, right? So say you have 1.97 2. I'm going to round it, okay? Times 10 to the exponent of 1. So basically it's times 10. All right, so if you do this, remember, how many times greater question has to be written in standard form. So this is, you're going to move this decimal over 1. And even if you put this into the calculator, if you put it into the calculator like this, figuring, let's go over to the calculator again, 1.972 times 10 to the first power. The calculator is going to give you 1.972. Now, think about what that is. That is scientific notation. So that means my calculator is in scientific notation. Just remember, I'm going to switch it to normal now and clear that out. And then I'm going to put it in again, 1.972. See, I forgot that it was in scientific notation. Now I press enter and I get an answer. And it says about how many times as far. So if you're talking about that this is 19.72, guess what? It's 20. So it's basically when you answer these questions, you just basically put about 20 times. And that is your answer. Just rolling through this is like basically a rules summary flashback. So when multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation, apply these rules for numbers in exponential form. Rules for multiplication, add the exponents when the bases are the same. Remember, we added the exponents when the bases are the same. You kept the bases because they were the same, and you added the exponents. Rules for division, you subtract the exponents when the bases are the same. Basically, you really don't even have to remember these. Well, of course, you have your calculator, and this is kind of like, a moot point when you didn't have a calculator here, that all these rules that you would have to remember. But sometimes they give you questions where you do have to know the rule, and you can't use the calculator. So number one, when multiplying in scientific notation, multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. When dividing, you subtract the exponents. And when you add in scientific notation, you add the coefficients, and we'll get up to that, only if the exponents are the same. The exponents have to be the same for you to add. And subtract, yet the exponents have to be the same too. But this time you subtract the coefficients. We'll get up to some of those questions, but let's go ahead and just roll with these. I'll do one with you. And again, I am definitely going to use the calculator. All right. Actually, I'll do one by hand and one with the calculator. Um, Again, this is multiplication. So you're multiplying 3 times 2. And 3 times 2 is 6. And then you're multiplying 10 to the third times 10 to the fourth. You're keeping the base and adding the exponents, 4 plus 3, and that is 7. That's it. You're done. All right. To do the second one, let's go over here. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in just the way it is in the calculator. And you could do this as well. Put parentheses. You don't really need the multiplication symbol. I don't know why this is taking me so long. And there it is. All right. So basically that is what number 2 says. And I'm just going to press enter. And just remember, if they give it to you in scientific notation, they want the answer in scientific notation unless they say standard. So I'm going to have to go to mode, and I'm going to have to press move it into scientific notation mode, and I'm going to have to go back to that screen. And I didn't want to do that. So I have it in already, and that is basically it. So when you see that, just remember that is 8 times 10 to the 5th power. All right, and that's 4 times 2, which is 8, and 10 to the 2nd times 10 to the 3rd, which is 10 to the 5th. Go ahead and do the rest of them, and we'll come back with the answers. You could press pause right now. Okay, so we're back, and the first 2 we did. And the number 3 is, I mean, when you multiply, if you're doing this by hand, which you shouldn't be, you do 4.7 times 2.9, you get 13.63, and you add the exponents, you get 10 to the 14th. And then you would have to move this exponent to the left, because you have to make a number between 1 and 10. And that's making the number smaller. And that means you have to make this larger. So it'll become 1.363 times 10 to the 15th. But just use your calculator. All right, so this is your final answer. And then this is your answer. Right. So now it says how many times greater is the product of how many times greater? There it is again. How many times greater division? Just divide. All right. So you have 6 times that. How many times greater is the product of question one? And this is the product of question one. Then the product of question two, which is this is the product of question two. So I'm just going to put that into the calculator. Remember alpha x to make the shortcut of that fraction. You press enter. Don't forget to change the mode back to normal, or else you will get an answer in scientific notation. So it's kind of like going to go back and forth. 75 is my answer. So that's basically what I have. That challenge question, not so much of a challenge anyway. If you are thinking about getting an answer in scientific notation, so I'm going to just go back and just switch it to scientific notation already. And I'm going to put this in 2.4 times 10 to the negative fifth. And then close parenthesis exponent again to the fourth. Let's see how this happens. There we go. All right, so we have 3.31776 times 10 to the negative 19th. And much easier with the calculator. So, like, I'm just going to just tell you, please just use the calculator, and it's just a much easier deal, ready to go with all of these questions, and there are a lot of them. So, but I'll just do one by hand, and then you could just go ahead and just, I mean, really just use the calculator button. All right, so you have 8 divided by 2. Let me just do this one by hand. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then since you're dividing, you're subtracting the exponents, and that was by hand. If you're using the calculator, um, let me just go over here just quickly. Just remember, press mode, scientific notation. It's in scientific notation mode. The alpha X will bring up the beautiful uh, fraction all ready for you. This is 9, and then just press down, and then you do 3 times 10 to the 5th power, and everybody's happy, and let's go and write twice just to get rid of it. So now you have 2 times 10 to the 4th. 2 to the exponent 4. That's how you read that in the calculator. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. 10 to the 9th divided by 10 to the 5th. 9 minus 5 is 4. Right? So, I mean, you could have done that by hand, and then the rest of them, no, you really can't. Well, you can, but why? Why would you do it? All right, so press pause right now, and we'll be back with all of the answers so you can check. Pause, please. Yeah, now. I mean, like now. All right, so number 3 is 2 times 10 to the negative 14th. Using the calculator, 5 times 10 to the negative 8th is number 4 using the calculator, and number 5 is 6 times 10 to the 7th. And we're going to go down to B. How many times greater, which is division, divide. Oh, wow. All right, divide. All right, so is the quotient for number 2 than the quotient of number 1. So this is the quotient for number 2. This is the quotient for number 1. All right, so number 2 and number 1. All right, you divide it. All right, like I want to put that into the calculator. So I am just going to just check. I have scientific notation mode. There it is. All right, alpha x. And then I'm just going to put 2 times 10 to the 4th over 4 times 10 to the 2nd. And then I'm going to press enter. I just enter. So just realize that that is scientific notation. So if you did want like to, obviously I should have switched it to normal, but I didn't. But really, it's not a big deal. 5 times 10 to the first is 50, right? You're just going to take 5, move it one place to the right, because 5 times 10 is 50. That's where you're getting 50 times, right? So 50 times greater, there it is, and that's your answer. So don't worry about listing them from least to greatest, where it says work together in your groups. There are no groups. When you're finished ordering from least to greatest, don't worry about it. Just get the answers, and we'll go over whatever we need to go over. You could press pause now. So all of these answers for the first one there is 2 times 10 to the negative sixth. This one here is 8 times 10 to the 11th. The one in the lower left of your screen is 2 times 10 to the third. Division. Multiplication over here. On the right is 2.125 times 10 to the 12th. All done on the calculator, all done rather easily. So this used to be a difficult subject to teach because adding and subtracting in scientific notation, um, it's useful, but the thing is now you have the calculator. I would just go ahead and just use the calculator. The rules were if the exponents were the same, and these exponents are the same, that's the way I started this off. You could just subtract the 7.9 minus 6.3, and you keep the exponent. You keep the base with the exponent. All right, the 10 with the exponent. So it would make it very easy. And then this 10 to the 12th, and this is 10 to the 12th. So you could just add 8.4 and 6.3. All right, and that's basically how you would do it by hand. But basically, I mean, I would use parentheses just to be safe. I have 7.9 times 10 to the fourth, and this is subtraction. So we want this in scientific notation mode, by the way, just because if it's given it to you in scientific notation, they want the answer back in scientific notation. So we have parentheses 6.3 times 10 to the fourth, and then close the go to the right once and close that parenthesis and then press enter, and you have 6.1. I'm sorry, 1.6. I don't know what's wrong with me. 1.6 times to the exponent of 4, and that's your answer. Just like I said, it was 7.9 minus 6.3 is 1.6, and then you keep to the fourth. Go ahead and do the second one. Put it in parentheses anyway, and use the calculator definitely, and press pause now. All right, so I just put that into the calculator, and that is it. We're going to press enter, and we are in scientific notation mode. And so that means this is 1.47 times 10 with the exponent of 13. And basically, you realize that I said that this is 10 to the 12th and this is 10 to the 12th, and you keep it the same. Well, see, what happens in this case, if you take a look at it, mode, press normal for a second. If you do this by hand, say, like, and you have 8.4 plus 6.3, and you press enter, that's 14.7. So just showing you what's going on here. 14.7 times 10 to the 12th is not scientific notation. That is not a number in scientific notation. You have to move this decimal 1 over to the left to make it smaller by 1, but then you have to make this larger by 1. All right, so you would have 1.47 times 10 to the 13th, and that's how the calculator already figures that out for you, and that's why you always use the calculator in these methods, and Basically, that's it. Discuss another method you could, who cares? All right. So go ahead, use what you know about exponents and your calculator to do all four problems, and we'll be back with the answers. Just press pause right now. Now. Alrighty, here we go. So first one, 6 times 10 to the sixth. Second one, 4 times 10 to the fifth. That's division. 2 times 10 to the fifth. Is that what I said? I don't even know. Whatever. B, which is number 3, addition is 1.608 times 10 to the fourth. And with this one, listen, this is to the third, this is to the fourth. So if you did not have a calculator, guess what? You would have to make one of those. You would have to take the 3 here and make it a 4, or make the 4 a 3. So, uh, I mean, I don't do it. But I'll just show you how we used to teach it. It's basically, all right, you take the smaller and make this larger, all right? But then if you made this side larger by 1, then you would have to make this side smaller. And what that would do is that you would add you would add 0.328, and then you would add plus 1.28 just by hand, and it would be 1.10. That's by hand. 1.608 times 10 to the fourth, because now this is a 4, and the exponents are the same. That's when you can add them. By taking the smaller and making it larger, you would always have this first number in between 1 and 10, and that's basically how we used to teach it. But just use your calculator; it doesn't matter. All right. This answer is there, and that's about it. All right. So we're on the next page, and you're going to work together in your groups, but there are no groups. Yay! No groups. All right. So press pause and work on the questions right now. So again, just use your calculator, but I'll show the first one by hand once. See, I'm gonna see this is subtraction, and the exponents have to be the same to do anything with this. So I noticed that this is a 2 and this is a 3, the exponent. So I'm gonna have to make this 2 a 3 to match this 3 in the exponent. So the decimals over here, and let me use another decimals over here. And I know if I make this larger, I have to make this smaller. So that's a 0.3 now. This is 0.3 times 10 to the third. So then I just bring down the 4 times 10 to the third, and I have the exponents the same. Now I could just subtract 4 minus 0.3, and you get 3.7 times 10 to the third, which is the answer. But if you just put this in the calculator, you get this answer right here. All right. For this one, for the one on the right-hand side, it looks like a really difficult problem, but it's really not that bad. Especially when you have the calculator, you press that calculator button here. Just make sure that you are in scientific notation mode. That's first off. I am not. You press enter and you get clear. So then you're really, I'm not going to go through all of this. Hold on for. So if you're going to input this into the calculator, you just has to, just like I have here, it looks exactly like the question, right? And then you just press enter and you get 7.825 times 10 to the exponent of 2. And that's exactly what's on the calculator. That's exactly your answer. So basically the next page is, it starts the part of the lesson that that is probably most difficult. It's all word problems and it gets a little bit tricky, but you just have to worry about this in this question. How many times greater? So that is division. How many times greater is the amount of water used for irrigation? All right, let's see. The water for irrigation is this. That's 1.28 times 10 to the 11th. Then the amount of water used for livestock. Livestock is this. 2.14 times 10 to the ninth. So you're just going to grab your calculator and try to do B as well, and C. All right, and we'll come back. Press pause now. All right, so like I said, how many times greater is division, and you get 1.28 times 10 to the 11th divided by 2.14 times 10 to the ninth. Remember, for this one, you do have to answer it in standard form. So switch your calculator to standard, and you get 59.8. It's about 60 times greater is your answer, right? And so this one right here, just move this down. So B says calculate the total water usage of electric power plants and irrigation. Total means addition, right? So electric power plants is 2.01 times 10 to the 11th plus the irrigation, which is 1.28 times 10 to the 11th, and you get 3.29 times 10 to the 11th right in your calculator. And I put that in the calculator on the uh, second row there. And then the third, C. Oh, that's weird. Okay. C is calculate the difference. When they say difference, obviously, that is subtraction. In water usage, for the electric power plant, which is 2.01 times 10 to the 11th, and irrigation, which is 1.28 times 10 to the 11th, and you get 7.3 to the exponent of 10, and that's basically what the answer is. So all of these basically require your reading skills, all right, and your knowledge of scientific notation. Now, the knowledge of scientific notation basically is going to be used on the calculator, all right? But if you can't uh, define the operation that you're going to use, then the calculator is not going to help you. So the operations are, there's four operations. You're either adding, you're subtracting, you're multiplying, or you're dividing. All right, there are keywords that we're going to underline. So let's go ahead with number one. The world's thinnest computer chip is this. So obviously this is important. 7.5 times 10 to the negative third millimeters thick. What would the height of a stack of three of those chips be? So what do you think? Do you think you would add these two numbers together, multiply, divide, subtract? All right, so you have one chip here, and you want a stack of three of them. So take a guess of what it is, and what did you say? I can't hear you because I'm by myself here. But so anyway, it is multiplication, because if you have one and you multiply by three, that's a stack of three chips. So the answer, just put that in your calculator right now, and I'll wait. I'm waiting for you to put it in the calculator. Please, come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, it's 2.25 times 10 to the negative second. All right, so that's basically, you're looking for keywords. You're thinking about, all right, like if I use addition here, will that work? If I use subtraction, will that work? All right, so let's go to number two. Speed of a garden snail is about 8.3 times 10 to the negative 6 miles per second. That's how fast per second that the garden snail goes. Right? If the garden snail moves at this speed, at the same speed, in a straight line for this amount of seconds, how far would the snail travel? So think about it. Is this addition, multiplication, subtraction, or division? Did I say division twice? I don't even know. All right, press pause now. Do the problem, and now press pause. So if you said multiplication, you are correct. Congratulations. You win nothing. 2.988 times 10 to the negative second is your final answer. I actually would say, all right, if like I kind of use X words, like I put numbers in for the scientific notation to help me out. So speed, say if I'm going 10 miles per hour, that's about my speed. 10 miles per hour I'm sorry, 10 miles per second. That's not my speed. So just say something's going 10 miles per second for 3 seconds. I mean, if you add them, obviously that's not going to make you. It's not going to give you the answer. Subtracting, dividing is not going to go. How fast? How far would I travel? I would travel 30 miles. All right, and that's basically I would say, oh yeah, I have to multiply. I'm just making up numbers, and that's basically what I would do to kind of if I had trouble deciphering what operation to use. So it says a hardware factory produces this many bolts in this many minutes. What is the factory's unit rate in bolts per minute? All right. So they make this many bolts in this many minutes. Unit rate. What do you usually do? What operation do you usually use to figure out unit rate? Please press pause and do the problem. All right, you're pressing pause now. So if you said division, you are correct. You get nothing. All right, so it's unit rate. Unit rate is division. So if like you have 3.6 times 10 to the fifth bolts in that many minutes, um, this is how many they make per minute. That's the unit rate. When you divide, you get the unit rate. Again, use your calculator, and that's about it. And it's crazy. That's crazy stuff. Um, yep, what's crazy is that it is pretty late and I'm doing these videos, um, this video, and Miss Gadgie's texting me right now. So, like, sorry she can't be with us right now, but that's, I guess, the way it is. All right, so anyway, during its orbit, number 4, around the sun, Mercury gets as close as 4.8 times 10 to the 7th miles from Earth, and as far as 1.3 times 10 to the 8th miles from Earth. What's the difference? Oh, we know what that is. Um, so the difference, you know what that is. Go ahead and see if you can do that problem and be right back. All right, press pause now. All right, so during its orbit around the sun, Mercury, blah, 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 blah. What is the difference? We knew that was subtraction. The one thing that I did want to mention here, since you're taking the difference of these two numbers, this number here is actually greater than this number. So um, if you did put 4.8 times 10 to the 7th first, you would get a negative scientific notation, and that really doesn't really like that. We don't do anything like that in our classes. So what is the difference between, you would just drop that negative, all right? It's the difference between the two, uh, the Mercury and Earth, all right? So you just, um, the, to the sun, distance to the sun. So you're just subtracting the two numbers, all right? But you want to kind of like put the number that's the greatest. And since I knew that, 1.38 times 10 to the 8th was greater than 4.8 times 10 to the 7th, I kind of arranged it that way. But if you didn't, then you would get a negative, and then you just drop the negative because the difference between those two numbers is basically just 9 times 10 to the 7th, right? And if you want to convert it into standard form, if they ask you for a standard form, you just put that into the calculator, make sure that you are in normal mode and standard mode, and just go ahead and press enter, and you'll get the answer. All right. And if you're doing it by hand, which I don't even know why I'm doing this, it's 9 times 10 to the 7th. So you're making a large number. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more. All right. And then it's this much. If they want it in standard, 90 million. All right. So that's basically it. All right, in 2000, an estimated 7.7 times 10 people spoke French. Oh, good for them. An estimated 1 times 10 spoke German. Very good for them. As the first language. In 2000, which language had more speakers? Oh, so just basically saying which one's greater, which one had more speakers, French and German. So I'm just looking. All right, so 7.7 times 10 to the 7th and 1 times 10 to the 8th, I would say that German, more people spoke German. But if you are confused, guess what you have in your disposal here, at your disposal, not in your disposal. Um, so you have 7.7. All right, wait a minute, wait a minute. Put normal mode. All right, 7.7 times 10 to the 7th power, and you would get that. And then you do 1 times 10 to the 8th power, and you would get that. Oh, which one's greater? Oh, yes, German is. But you should have seen that um, right off the bat. But if you didn't, that's the way you would do it in the calculator. Using your answer for number 5, answer the following. How many people spoke French and German in all? Um, so you just have to French and German. So you're just taking these two numbers, 7.7 times 10 to the 7th. I'm going to leave out the operation in all. So what do you think it is? Uh, in all? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. It's addition. Right. So if you're adding, you get 1.77 times 10 to the 8th in your calculator, and that's about it. So take a look at this. This was a state exam question in 2018. It was on book 2. It was question number 39, if anybody cares. Two cells are viewed and measured under a microscope. The appropriate diameter for each of the cells listed, they give you the cells in scientific notation. What is the approximate difference? There we go. That's the key word. So difference, you basically would have to do what with it? Between the diameter of cell P and the diameter of cell Q. So it's pretty easy, especially that you have your calculator. Press pause. Um, do this whole question, but press pause first and press pause now. So this used to be much more difficult when it was by hand. I mean, when you didn't have a calculator for it. But anyway, whatever. So you have 5.0 times 10 to the negative fourth, and you're minusing, you're trying to find the difference, subtracting, not minusing, I don't even know what that is. Is that a word? You're subtracting like that to the fifth, negative fifth, and I put that into my calculator, and I had 4.7 times 10 to the exponent of negative 4, and that, my friends, is D. So go on to the next question and see if you could do this one on your own. This was also another state exam question. Please press pause now. So I really do love this question, but the answers, unfortunately, are incorrect. So if you're wondering um, about the answers, they are incorrect, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. Uh, and the reason why I like this question is that obviously you can't put this, first off, this is difference, right? So you know you have to subtract these two numbers, and you can't put this into the calculator. So obviously you have to just go ahead and put that huge number. So obviously this long number can't fit into the calculator, so I'm just going to move this and make it scientific notation. So remember when I was saying that you count by threes? So this is 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and that makes it nice to subtract. And 5.97 times 10 to the 24th, even by hand, but we're not going to do this by hand. And then minus 4.87 times 10 to the 24th. Notice the exponents are the same. So now you grab your calculator, put that in, and you get 1.1 times 10 to the 24th. And you notice that the numbers do not match the A, B, C, and D, but that is the answer. And express your answer in scientific notation. There it is, right here. All right. All right, another state exam question. So city X has a population of 3 times 10 to the 5th, and city Y has a population of 6 times 10 to the 6th. And this one's a little tricky. Which statement correctly describes the relationship between the populations of city X and city Y? And then you read it, like, first off, I don't know what to do. So it's A, the population of city Y is 2 times the population of city X. So that means to figure that out, you would have to divide, right? Because 2 times 20 times, well, 300 less, this is subtraction. 3 million less, this is subtraction. So I'm just going to go with the times. So this is divide. This is divide. So let's see. It's either 2 times or 20 times. I don't even know. So city Y divided by city X. So, I mean, really, you could do this by hand. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Oh, I see where they get the 2 times. 10 to the 6th divided by 10 to the 5th, that is 10 to the 1st. But remember, 2 times 10 is 20. So we got lucky. B is your answer. All right. If you put 2, you're not figuring, you're not kind of really looking at what scientific notation is. Um, but like really, after you get this, you just have to just put it in the calculator and it'll give you 20 times. Once you're in that mode, that normal mode, um, it'll just say 20 times, and that's definitely the best way to do it all the time with the calculator and all of that nonsense. All right, go ahead, simplify using the laws of exponents, and you can't use your calculator here because they want it in exponential form. So you're using the laws of exponents. So try to do that first one and then the one below it and press pause now. All right, so first thing you do here is to multiply the exponents. You get 5 to the 10th power times 5 to the negative 15th. And then I just took 5 to the 4th and then just added, remember, there's a 1 there. 5 to the 5th power, put that on the bottom. Then 5 to the 10th you add the exponents here, keep the base 5 to the 10th, which is 10 plus negative 15 is 5 to the negative 5th, which is what you see here, and then divided by 5 to the 5th. But just remember, you subtract the exponents now, negative 5 minus 5, and that becomes 5 to the negative 10th. And then you switch it, flip it, all right, remember, put a 1 underneath and then flip it. Becomes positive once you do, and all of that nonsense. Go ahead and let's see. Well, you already did this, hopefully. Light travels at this many miles in 1 minute. That's the key. How many miles will it travel in 2 hours? All right, 2 hours is 120 minutes. So I hope you didn't multiply by 2. I hope you multiplied by 120. And if you did, you got this answer right there. All right, very tricky. Um, and that's the question. Okay, last question. Johnny and Amy are trying to find the product of 3.78 times 10 to the 14th and 2.5 times 10 to the 20th. Johnny says that you need to convert each number to standard form and multiply them. Amy says that you have to multiply the coefficients and then add the exponents when you multiply the bases of 10. Who is correct? Explain why and all of that. Go ahead and do that question and press pause now. All right, so Amy is correct. You do not need to convert each to standard form. Could you? Yes. But after when you multiply those huge numbers, obviously you know that something's wrong. Uh, it'll be just too difficult. You can't even fit those numbers in the calculator. So Amy is correct. And you multiply the coefficients 2.5 times 3.78. That is the rule. And when you multiply the bases of 10, you add those exponents. Again, multiplication, you add exponents. So Amy is correct. If you had all that down, that's great. And this lesson, this long lesson is finally finished. 47 minutes of me talking. Oh, my goodness. All right. So that's it. I'm finished. I'm done. Take care, everybody.